How's it going, Knicks fans? Welcome back to Fireside Knicks with your boys, Alex and Ryan. Today we're talking about a backup plan if the Knicks fail to sign Donte DiVincenzo. And if you know our podcast, if you know us, we freaking love Donte DiVincenzo. We want him to be a Knick. The guy's an absolute sharpshooter, come from the Golden State Warriors, expected to reject his player option. Now the Knicks, how do they open up salary space? What is going on? Emmanuel Quickly wants a 9-figure deal. That's something we have to discuss at some point as well. I don't even know. Is Quickly even worth $25 million? I would say absolutely not. There's no way in hell you can convince me he's worth the same amount that Jalen Brunson is making year over year. There's no way. Logically, just no freaking way. So if he does want 9 figures over 4 years, I think you have no choice but to let him go. We're going to talk about this another time, but today we want to talk about Bruce Brown, an alternative. According to Ian Begley of SNY, the Knicks could look to Bruce Brown if they do miss out on DiVincenzo. Now, that is kind of a big, steep drop-off, if you ask me. DiVincenzo hit nearly 40% of his shots from downtown last year. Obviously, a very effective player, good defender. Could do a lot for this Knicks team, helping to increase spacing on the offensive side, good defense. And, that's something the Knicks desperately need off of the bench. He can also start for what it's worth. Going to Bruce Brown, a big drop off. So, Ryan, before we dive into the good stuff and why this would kind of be kind of a net negative move compared to Donte, how you do today, my friend?
Yeah, no, end of the day, I think you and I can agree, is getting Bruce Brown making you worse? No, but, obviously we would prefer Donte DiVincenzo. I think it comes at a better price tag. I like that he's, a player that you feel like will immediately fit well with Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson. He obviously played with both of them back in Villanova. Now, whether the New York Knicks are just going to become a Villanova syndicate is one thing, but, wait and see on that front. But I think Bruce Brown's a solid player. I just don't, I feel weird about signing role players coming off of a championship team because it feels like they're more expensive on the market. It feels like they're, value a little bit more. And, I understand that this is not my money. This is, I'm not the owner. I don't, write the checks or whatever it may be. But I think you and I can agree that, getting positive value from contracts is super important. I understand they're both the same age, but as you mentioned, Bruce Brown's probably a worse shooter than Donte DiVincenzo. Not even probably, definitely a worse shooter. Shot a lower volume and a worse percentage in his career. He's never shot above 35% from three before this year on more than one attempt a game. Like he shot averaged under 2 attempts a game every single year before this year. I think he's a good player. I don't think he's a better player than Donte DiVincenzo. I think that you're looking for a guy who can be an elite catch and shoot option for you, especially if we're talking about acquiring a player who's likely going to start over RJ Barrett. And, again, no disrespect to Bruce Brown, but, are you going to acquire Bruce Brown to have him compete with RJ Barrett for a spot? Or if RJ Barrett is dealt, have him play in RJ Barrett's spot? I don't think so. I'd rather have RJ Barrett at that point, especially considering that Bruce Brown's contract can get up to about 15, 16, maybe even $17 million a year coming off that championship season. And it feels like the Evan Fournier contract part 2. Now, I think the Knicks are doing their due diligence. I think the Knicks being interested in Bruce Brown makes sense. I just don't think that the Knicks paying the top dollar that a team is going to pay for Bruce Brown would make all that much sense, especially considering, as you mentioned, Emmanuel Quickly is going to be someone that's up for an extension. I understand that the 9 figures seems like a lot at first, but there are a lot of guys making $100 million in the NBA now. And I'll tell you this, I'd rather give a large sum of money to Emmanuel Quickly than give that money to Bruce Brown. And any opportunity to sign a player that would jeopardize your chance of bringing back Emmanuel Quickly should be questioned. And we should only really reserve that for top players. Emmanuel Quickly was arguably the best 6 man in the NBA last year. I thought he should have won the award. He's immensely valuable defensively. He's immensely valuable offensively. If you look at net rating, every single player for the most part benefits from playing with Emmanuel Quickly. He's a great playmaker, great shooter, great shot creator, extremely high motor, ability to take over a game. The intangibles, the analytics, the film, everything screams that this is a good player to have on your team. And I don't want to jeopardize that to bring in Bruce Brown. But Alex, maybe you feel a little bit differently here.
I mean, not so much differently. I think Emmanuel Quickly is a really good player. I think the reason he didn't end up winning that 6th man of the year to Malcolm Brogdon was simply because he started in 21 games and Brogdon didn't start once or something like that. So I think that there was a little bit of a sway there in terms of how they were grading it. But he could have won it. It was ticky-tacky, he averaged 15 points per game and the guy shot really, really well. But Bruce Brown, comparably to Donte DiVincenzo, is quite significant. Now, I think that you kind of referenced what I wanted to say in the sense that I feel like Bruce Brown is going to try to leverage this championship kind of season into a big deal. And that's like not a good thing for the Knicks to fall into the trap of. This is not what the Knicks need to do right now in terms of going and signing Bruce Brown of all players. And not to say he's a bad player, but I think the shooting numbers there are not what we're looking for. You know what I mean? Like he shot 358 from downtown last year, 483 from the field, which isn't bad. He averaged 11.5 points, 4 rebounds, and 3.4 assists. DiVincenzo's numbers, while his points were slightly lower, he also played fewer minutes, but he also shot about 40% from downtown. So you're seeing a big difference there when it comes to success rate from beyond the arc, when it comes to shooting, when it comes to spacing. It screams DiVincenzo. And if they're going to get paid around the same price, I feel like you go for the Villanova trio, because ultimately, like Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, and DiVincenzo probably have unparalleled chemistry coming from the collegiate days. And then you kind of look at what they can do here. And what I think made the Knicks team good last year, especially during like kind of large troves of the season, was that they played together. Like they played like team-friendly basketball, passed the ball. They were unselfish. They really relied on each other. They came through when they needed it. Like that was really what showed out to me, was that these guys played as a team and not individuals. DiVincenzo to me feels like a team addition and not an individual addition. You know what I'm trying to say? Like I feel like he may help the chemistry while Bruce Brown may not be that perfect chemistry fit. Like DiVincenzo could probably step in day one and be an impact player for us. I'm not so sure Bruce Brown would do that. You know what I mean?
I think end of the day, what you really emphasize there is that this team needs complementary pieces to go alongside their stars. Now, if the Knicks are going to go out and acquire an improvement or an upgrade on one of their stars, whether that's Randall leaving or maybe that's Paul George coming in and Randall taking in a third role, the Knicks are going to need guys who don't need the ball in their hands to be successful. They need catch and shoot guys. I saw this stat. RJ Barrett was bottom 5, I think, in the league in catch and shoot percentage. Does that mean that RJ Barrett's a bad player? No. But it's clear that the Knicks, right, they were relying on him to do that. He couldn't do that, and understandably so. That's not why he got drafted number 3 overall. It wasn't because he's a sniper from the corner. It's because of his ability to shot create, his defensive potential, all that stuff. And we can make a reasonable argument here that RJ Barrett's role, really, it wasn't the role for him, right? That wasn't the role for him. And I think that that's something that the Knicks saw during the season. During the playoffs, he got better when Randall wasn't there. And I think that's because he was the second option instead of just kind of the off-ball third option. So the Knicks are going to really need to rely on more of a 2-star system with 3 guys who are more defensive oriented or can work well without the ball in their hands. Quentin Grimes, I think, is a good shot creator. I actually think Quentin Grimes has a pretty decent ceiling, but Quentin Grimes isn't the guy you're giving the ball to in the fourth quarter to take a big shot, right? Unless it's a catch and shoot, but he's not going to be asked to shot create, dribble the ball up the court, create separation on his own and then hit a step back 3. That's more Jalen Brunson. That's more Julius Randle. That's more, if they got Paul George, and having Mitchell Robinson there gives you a great anchor in the interior. You're never really going to have to worry about offensive rebounding and defense and shot blocking, all that stuff. Quentin Grimes, a great defender, takes on tough assignments. And then, as you mentioned with Donte DiVincenzo, the ability to create from 3, the ability to really just, he can sit on the corner. They can kick it out to him and he'll hit that shot. And he'll play great defense. And that's something else that matters here too. Part of some of the game that people really don't talk about enough is just the effort it takes to play defense and then be asked to do a lot on the offense side of the ball. It's extremely tiring, right? In the NFL, we hear this constantly. When your defense is kept on the field constantly, it just makes it worse, right? Like if a team goes out and scores a first quarter touchdown, then you go and you're 3 and out. Your defense is probably going to get torched the next drive. They're exhausted. They're tired. These are people. These are not robots. This is not 2K. You know what I mean? In the NBA, Quentin Grimes is probably going to get gassed in the third quarter in a playoff game if he's being asked to defend Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum, or even a James Harden type or anyone like that, or Jimmy Butler for a playoff series by the third quarter in games 2 and 3 is going to be gassed, right? Having DiVincenzo who can do that and kind of handle a defensive load is definitely going to help the Knicks go a long way. I think Bruce Brown's capable of it, but of course, it's that price tag. And I think that's where you and I agree here. That price tag is really the issue here.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what it's going to come down to, how the Knicks can kind of expand upon their salary situation. $18.8 million from Evan Fournier got to go. Now, the question is, and I don't want to hit on this too much because I want to do a separate kind of whole episode about this in Emmanuel Quickley's contract. How on earth are they going to manage to pay Quickley, RJ, Jalen Brunson, and Julius Randle $25+ million each? You know what I mean? Like it's not a sustainable practice. You can't do it. one of those guys has to go. You know what I mean? Like, especially if they want to bring in a third star. If RJ Barrett doesn't develop into that, he's probably the odd man out in this scenario. But, we'll see what happens. Looking at what they can do right now, the Knicks have some salary space. They rejected the $15.6 million player option for Derrick Rose. So there's money there. Josh Hart, they extended that deadline actually to tonight. So they have to make a decision on that player option. What may end up happening is they may end up taking that player option with the mid-level exception. I think they have a tax break there, which pretty much covers his contract. Then they extend him beyond this season. They'll keep his cap hit low this year. He'll kind of take that team-friendly decision, but also extended beyond. So he'll have that security long-term and the guaranteed money to go with it. So, I think the Knicks are going to figure out ways to get creative with the salary space right now. We're going to kind of continue to update you on this as players come, players go. But we got you guys covered on all Knicks news, my friends. Make sure to like and subscribe. As always, happy to hear your conversation pieces down below in the YouTube comments about Bruce Brown, Donte DiVincenzo. Appreciate you guys tuning in, and we'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Knicks episode.